Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever time of day you listen to us here at Dr. Rob, Spirits in the Supernatural. I am Dr. Rob Cissna, and welcome to our YouTube video. Good morning, Patrick. How are you?
Good. How you doing, Dr. Rob? It's been a little while with us being so busy.
Yeah, we both have had very busy summers, and I'm glad that we're able to broadcast another show for the 2013 season.
Yes, absolutely. Now, people have to bear with us. We are getting a little bit of lag. It almost a couple times seems like you're talking to me from beyond, the way it blurs out, and I keep hearing noises, but hopefully it'll clear up a little bit.
Well, we are trying to catch up with the 21st century, and our fans are going to have to bear with us until we're able to, perfect our new technology. But it's a little better than just watching my face pop up on the screen every couple of seconds with my phone number. So hopefully, hopefully people will enjoy watching us. You've been calling me for like the last few weeks, and we haven't been able to hook up with your schedule and my schedule. So it is good that we were able to come together this morning to record this show. I know that you had a lot of responses back from our last video with different suggestions on who we might interview in the future.
Yes, they've been starting to come in pretty regularly, and we definitely appreciate the input. And we're going to begin starting to go down that list and have some of those actual celebrities on there. Now, for today, I kind of figured on seeing if you could reach Cory Monteith. I'm not sure if he'll be available or not, but if you can check in and see, I'm sure there'll be definitely some interest on that, and I have a feeling he might have been trying to come through.
Yeah, it was a very tragic loss. He's such a young, talented man, and for us to lose him so early in life, it really is a shame. But with drugs and alcohol involved, it's really, you know, something that was just a matter of time for sure. Let me go ahead and see if I can reach out to him from the other side.
Okay.
Okay. Um, what would you like to know today?
Well, some of it, I mean, we first have a few general questions, but we kind of wanted to kind of let him give his side of things, what happened. I mean, we know he was kind of on an upswing with his career. I wasn't real familiar with him. I hadn't really watched Glee, but I had seen some of the other shows that he had done cameos in, from Smallville, I think Supernatural, different things like that. So I think a lot of it, he can kind of recap us from maybe what his cause of death was and some of the events leading up to it.
Well, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, I mean, it's common knowledge. You can go onto the web and you can, look up his name and, even his death certificate on the web. But I really felt when I was touching in with him that, there's a lot of sadness to his life when he was alive. I feel that as like an overwhelming sense. Now that he's on the other side, he's not feeling, necessarily the same way, but they have to give me a sense of what they were like as they were getting ready to pass.
Sure. So, I mean, it was pretty much just the way it came out in the news and everything. So, um, was it finally from just his breathing shut down or heart or, you know?
Well, what I kind of feel here is that it was kind of almost like a suffocation. His throat closed up, his lungs were closed up, and he couldn't catch his breath. He just couldn't breathe. He wasn't really that coherent as far as knowing that he was dying. He was already at that point where he was like at the point of unconsciousness. So when I touch in with him, I would say that he didn't suffer, but it definitely was a tragic passing. Kind of was at that point for like a couple of days where he wasn't really sober at any point, and he just kept taking the drugs. Now I know that this is something of a really dangerous drug that he was involved with because he just gives me that sense of I'm afraid, and so he had that fear within himself as he was getting ready to pass of I know that I'm doing is bad for me, but at the same time I can't help it. And it just doesn't seem like he was wanting necessarily to die. It wasn't like a suicide, but it did feel like he was just so under so much pressure that he needed an escape, and this was his time to escape.
Okay, so he was kind of almost indifferent whether he lived or died, right?
I would say that he just he was just tired, and he was just exhausted, and he just wanted an escape, and this was his way to escape.
Okay. And not to break format, we keep getting a lot of squeaking feedback. Is that coming in on your end from something?
It's not from me. It must be from your computer.
Huh. Okay. Um, Seems to have stopped temporarily.
Okay.
Does he have any real happy moments he does recall, though, or was it always kind of just bleak?
Um, I would say that his relationships were his happy moments. People that were close to him, his friends, his girlfriend, of course. He had a lot of connections to people, but he really didn't trust very many people. He always tried to keep to himself. He always had that, in the back of his head that, this could end any day. And for him, that was kind of the tragedy of his life. It was hard to know who was really his friend and who was just there because he was famous.
Yeah, and I think that is kind of a common theme with a lot of the different celebrities you've interviewed that they've found that they had to kind of wrestle with that all throughout their lives, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that with Corey, he had such a great talent, but at the same time, he really didn't have a social life. He was so famous at the end of his life that he couldn't go anywhere and not be known for who he was. And I think that's the trap that a lot of stars fall into. Patrick,
Yeah.
there's just too much of the beeping. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still there, but yeah, there's a lot of bad feedback.
I'm not sure if it's because the photographs you're putting up or what.
That shouldn't do anything because I was doing it before I put any photographs up.
Stop now. It could just be from the other side, as far as them trying to get through to us. It could be spiritual interference, so maybe we should just go ahead and continue and, not edit this and just let it go as it is.
Well, yeah, because you we were getting. Huh. Wait, let me. Is it just? Well, I was doing it when you were talking and not just me. So now it's stopped for the moment, and it didn't do it when we were testing earlier.
Right. So I think we should just leave this video as is because we did have the one video that someone commented on that they were hearing voices in the background.
Yeah, I think that
So
was on the Michael Jackson video, wasn't it?
I think so. I think so. So maybe we should just leave it as it is and let the people deal with the squeaking because it could when we do these shows we never know what's going to come through from the other side and I would hate to have us edit this out and miss something really important.
Well, you never know. I mean, remember all the lighting problems and everything else we had in the woods when we were recording in 2011 season. It was pretty interesting, some of it.
Yeah, we never. I mean, we don't edit these shows typically, especially with the radio. But now with the video, it's one of those things that we just kind of have to kind of just do it and deal with whatever comes up because I really feel like sometimes things happen for a reason. Sure. They must agree with this because it just started back up again.
Yeah.
What else would you like to know from Corey today?
Let's see. Well, if he could have done some things differently in his life, what would he have done?
Don't really think from what I'm feeling from him, I don't feel a sense of regret. I think that for him, he was doing what he loved to do, and that part of him just I think that was the happiest moments of his life when he was performing. But on the other side, I think he just didn't have the same connection to the world, and I would say that he was a very introverted person with his true feelings. And I think that's one of the reasons why he was having some emotional issues that he was dealing with for sure.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, really. Now, does he recall any other past lives that he had that he found, more interesting than probably the norm, or was this the one this final one the one?
I would say that, for him, he just pretty much had a regular existence in his past lives. I'm not really hearing from him anything spectacular, like he was, a prince or something like that. It just
Cleopatra, like
was,
everybody is.
yeah, I think that he was kind of just a regular person, with regular issues, regular personality, just like us. And for him, I think from a young child, from what he says to me, that he always wanted to be the performer, and because it let him be somebody else for a while. And I sense a real tragedy to life in his early childhood, and I think this is one of the reasons why he went down the road he went down.
Okay. Now, is there any message he'd like to convey to maybe friends or family while he's on here?
I really feel like he just wants to apologize. It just seems like that's the word that I'm hearing is I'm sorry. I must have heard it 20 times since we started touching in with him. And it just seems like he has the regret of I wish I could have reached out. I wish I could have asked for help. And I think that if he had done that, he wouldn't still be with us. He
Uh,
says that the season of Glee is going to be one of the best seasons ever. And he says that he's one of the regrets is he's not going to be there in person. He'll be there in a spiritual sense, but he's not going to be there, to do what he loves to do.
okay. And I assume he probably has that similar message to his fans, or does he have anything different he'd like to say to his fans?
I really feel like he wants to, give a public service announcement of don't do drugs. For him, he said it was like taking a gun and putting it to his head every time he did it, and unfortunately, he wasn't able to recover from it. So, for his fans, he says that just don't do it. Just don't even start. Don't go down that road.
Right. Okay. Let's see. Now, even though we apologize to the listeners again for this interference, but it doesn't seem to be anything with our equipment that I can tell. It could just be the lag through the internet. But can you still hear me okay, Rob?
I can hear you just fine. I'm not connected to Cory anymore. He kind of just went back to where he was at. And so, is there anything that you want to ask me that I can answer? Based on what he told me before he left, because I don't feel his presence here any longer.
Okay. And, I was gonna, usually it's pretty interesting. We usually ask a lot of celebrities if there was anyone in particular that they're associating with that was maybe famous on the other side that we might recognize. Had you picked up on anything of that nature?
I didn't really hear anything from that. I really feel like Corey's still going through a transition period right now. He just feels like he's, adjusting to the other side. He seems to be making appearances, though, to his family, to his fans. I mean, I know there are a lot of fans out there that have a spiritual connection to him. He seems to be wanting to help people. So I feel like this is something that he wants to focus his attention
Okay. Well, that's good to know. I know some of them it does take them some time to adjust. Still getting a lot of interference here, but I know even with Phil Hartman a while back when he showed up with I can't remember whether it was um, Chris Farley or one of them. I think at the time he was still adjusting, so I guess it varies depending on the person. So maybe at a later time we'll try and have you touch back in with them
absolutely.
and see how things are going then.
And if you'd like to have a private consultation with me, you can give us a call here at the office at 786-416-1547. That's telephone number is 786-416-1547. Please remember that I am on the East Coast, and take that into consideration when you do make your calls. Also, there is a cost for the consultations, which you can find out about when you call. Also, please try to refrain from giving me a call at 3 in the morning unless it's something really important that you need to talk about at that time. I don't mind answering those calls. It seems that there's a lot of people who are not taking, the fact that I am a professional psychic seriously, and are, calling me up like the Kurt Cobain fans, for example. They call me at 3 in the morning. Is this Kurt? Well, unless you have a connection to Kurt and he has a personal message from you, please refrain from calling me at 3 a.m.
Yeah, it seems like we're still getting that interference there, Dr. Rob. Um, so I do apologize to the listeners, but we're not quite sure what it is. We'll try and work on this for other videos. Um, I know we had kind of had our audio versions on the radio where those were pretty clean most of the time. We did have some bizarre interference sometimes, but hopefully we can.
Sometimes, prior to us recording the show, we were having some issues even logging on. And so, there might be a spiritual connection to this. So I'm just going to leave that up to the listeners and the viewers to decide for themselves. But, whether you listen to us in the morning, the afternoon, the evening, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rob.